They told me that Jack had a scratch on his head, normal policy for them to call. So I said, oh, just a scratch. She said, yeah. And I said, okay, no problem. Well, see, these run across the top, these ones.
Angela Swindles is still disturbed by what happened to her son Jack 5 years ago. It was just his second visit to a Brisbane childcare centre, and she quickly discovered it wasn't a minor incident. She recorded this video that afternoon.
He had black eyes, a jigsaw puzzle that with a square, the square ones that had been stamped on the back of his head with a red square. He had bite marks on his arms, scratches all over his face. So that's what I turned up to find from a phone call saying he had a scratch.
When Angela complained, the centre revealed Jack had been left unsupervised, lying on a mat in a room when he was attacked by a 4-year-old child.
They admitted it and said, yes, she was out of the room. There was no educator in the room. She was changing a nappy. When your child gets hurt, you just want to know what happened.
An email from the centre said, despite having adequate staff for the amount of children, we must be more mindful of when to carry out other tasks.
I hate to think back about it because it just gets me angry, and just to think of how he was feeling, not being able to do anything.
The family is now pursuing legal action against the childcare centre.
Across the board, we're typically seeing incidents where children are falling from heights, so falling from tables or chairs, incidents where children are falling from play equipment and injuring themselves, where children are being physically attacked by other children.
Shantisha Hogan says her firm's caseload of injuries sustained at childcare centres across Australia is increasing.
So for example, we have one incident where a child fell from a tree and they've actually sustained a broken back from that. And the common factor across all of those incidents really comes back to the lack of supervision.
The latest data shows a 10% increase to confirmed breaches of the national laws in the last 5 years. The most frequent breaches relate to failing to protect children from harm and hazards and inadequate supervision of children.
The thing is, we don't know what are the factors behind those increases, but we have asked ASIGWA to review the child safety standards and look into child safety to ensure that the standards that we have continue to maintain that high quality that parents and families expect of their early childhood education and care providers.
Across Australia, there are 1,700 childcare centres that have been assessed as not meeting the national quality standard. There are also a record number of staffing waivers in place. These grant centres an exemption to operate, despite their staff not holding the required qualifications.
The problem is that there are not enough educators to effectively implement what they need to do, and that's because their wages are too low and they're burnt out and they're overworked.
The Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority declined 730's request for an interview. The government says it has measures underway to improve safety.
We have a national workforce strategy that we are implementing. We're looking at what are the actions that we can bring forward. At the last budget, we had a $72 million package around professional development.
There are so many issues around safety at the moment.
Professor Susie Garvis says a plethora of research demonstrates what is best practice in early childhood care and education.
It doesn't appear like all centres and early childhood settings are safe for children based on the current breaches that are happening. So we need to really think about, as a society, what is the best we can do for children in this country. And at the moment, we are not there.
The fact of the matter is that there's a need for an urgent intervention, and that is because of the staffing crisis.
The union representing early childhood educators is lobbying the federal government for a 25% wage increase for the sector, something it says will improve retention and attract more staff.
They have been holding together a broken system for a really long time, and perhaps the issues that have been there for so long haven't come to light in the way that they are now, when the staffing crisis is just so deep that it can't be ignored anymore.
The union is currently undertaking a process through the Fair Work Commission. We have made the commitment that if and when the government is called to the table, we will be at the table through those negotiations. But I don't want to preempt that process.
The government is under increasing pressure to respond to concerns from parents and the early childhood education sector.
Educators do whatever they can to keep children safe. They do whatever they can to meet the legal minimum ratios that they have to, but sometimes it's just mathematically impossible for them to do that at the moment.
It is beyond crisis. Early childhood educators are one of the worst paid professions, but the work that they do is one of the strongest contributions to society.
Angela Swindles says working parents need to feel confident their children will be safe in childcare centres.
Yeah, you feel guilty enough, going to work and having to put your child into daycare to work and be able to afford to pay rent and bills and things like that, and putting your trust in a childcare centre and knowing that you can take that anxiety away, that they're going to be looked after, is so important.